Hello everyone and welcome to Stationery Stream. Today we have pen stories where I talk about my fountain pens that I have received in chronological order. Today's fountain pen is going to be my very first fountain pen purchase, which is the Pilot Metropolitan or the Pilot MR3. So my last fountain pen was the Lamy Safari, and I was thinking about how I'd like a pen that would write finer as well as be a bit heavier, which is where the Pilot MR3 comes in. It's been recommended as a very good starter fountain pen, and I eventually found the teal colour, which as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to get this fountain pen, and I spent about a month sitting on this desire before waltzing down to the local pen store to try it out. At the pen store, I wanted to try the fountain pen compared to the Lamy Safari nibs because I was fooled by the fact that the Lamy actually named their nib an extra fine. But when I actually put the extra fine Lamy nib with the line from the Pilot MR fine nib, the fine nib actually wrote with a thinner line than the Lamy extra fine. I was still reluctant to go for the Pilot MR because I wasn't sure if I would like it. I was tending to be on the safer side, and it was a little bit more expensive than the Lamy Safari. I think the Lamy Safari was about $55 or $57 at the time, and the Pilot MR would be $60. But given that the line was finer and it also came with a converter, I decided to go for the Pilot MR, and I am so thankful I did because it is one of my favourite fountain pens. Of course, I took the fountain pen to work. That was what it was for. I wanted the fine line to deal with the porous absorbent paper that I had at work, and I promptly dropped it onto carpet on the very first day. And because it was so expensive, I just never took it back to work again. I didn't trust myself to use the fountain pen at work in that situation. So despite it being my favourite fountain pen, I don't use it for work. Surprisingly slippery fountain pen, because I normally keep my pens in my front pocket. When I pick it up, it just slips right out of the hand and onto the floor. It's a thinner pen. It's harder to grip. So that's the only flaw I've really found with this fountain pen. The other fountain pens I've had don't seem to have that problem. The best part of it is that I love the cigar shape. It is a metal pen. It has a very fine nib. It comes with a converter. I actually do like the converter. I know that a few people complain about the Twsbi, but I find it's quite easy to use, particularly for someone who's never used fountain pens prior to the Lamy Safari. And I also found the cartridges really easy to use as well for the Pilot brand. The things I carried over from this fountain pen for my next fountain pen purchase was that I wanted everything about this fountain pen but lighter and cheaper. So you can probably guess what my next fountain pen was. So since I initially bought this fountain pen for work, you might be wondering, what do I use it for now if it's still one of my favourite fountain pens? Nowadays I use it mostly for journaling at home. I do still have a backlog of non-fountain pen friendly papers that I use for journaling, and a fine nib from Pilot is one of the best ones to use, simply because it doesn't absorb as much ink through the page. And it is a generally drier fountain pen, so it copes with most papers, which is the reason why I bought it. I also use it for line work and sketching, and it is one of my favourite sketching fountain pens. You can see here that I have used it over the years. I can now say years with an S on the end, for bullet journaling, doodles as well as the borders of my long form journaling. I've also tried a few inks in this fountain pen. The current ink here is Monteverde Pumpkin Cake, which I don't think I will use with this fountain pen again because it tends to have a lot of nib crusting, which I find quite unappealing. I didn't have the same issues when I was using Ferris Wheel Press's Main Street Marmalade, which is a lovely orange ink that I used here in this drawing of the Golden Snitch back in May of last year. I've also quite enjoyed the Mont Blanc Emerald fountain pen ink sample that I received from a pen friend at the local pen meet because it was almost an exact match for my fountain pen. But I also like Diamine Soft Mint because it's a very similar colour that matches this fountain pen too. I don't think I will ever give away this fountain pen or sell it. As I mentioned before, it's one of my favourite fountain pens. But I also don't think I will get a second one. I understand a few people do pick up maybe 2 or 3 Pilot MRs. I don't quite know why I wouldn't go for another one. I think maybe the cost is a bit prohibitive. Even the online store, I think you pay $40 as a minimum price for the Pilot MR for the plain black version. And it might just be because I'm not as enamored with the colours as I was with this teal one. I bet you have a Pilot MR. It's hard to meet someone who doesn't, similar to the Lamy Safari. So tell me about your experiences with the Pilot MR and why you've chosen it, as well as how you got it. Maybe it was a gift, maybe you chose to buy it for a specific reason, like myself. Do you still use it for that specific reason, or like me, did you buy it for a particular reason but ended up using it for a different one? Thank you for joining me with my pen stories. I bet you know what the next pen story pen is going to be. Leave your guesses down below in the comments. Thank you for joining in. This is Stationery Stream. Please join me next time.